I agree the constant use of arguments around demographic time bomb to justify attacks on pensions and the retirement age in general is outrageous. The attempt by the state to push out the pension age has had widespread political support and was first designed by the Fianna Fáil Green government and put into legislation by the Fine Gael Labour coalition, and was part of the austerity response, but also based on the idea that because people are living longer, we cannot possibly pay state pension at 65. In 2011, Joan Burton said this, in highlighting the significant challenge facing the Irish pension system. She emphasised the fundamental principle that people need to participate in the workforce for longer, and they need to contribute more towards their pensions if they are to achieve an income they expect or would like to have in retirement. She said the over 65 population was expected to more than double by 2050 from 11% to 26% because people were living longer. Spending on social welfare pensions and public service occupational pensions is projected to increase from approximately 5% of GDP to almost 15% by 2050. Now, there's been some rollback on the part of this government in terms of pushing the retirement age to 67. They've had to do it and create this commission, which I believe is actually stacked with safe hands. As far as I can see, out of the 11 members of the Pension Commission, there are 3 civil servants, 3 from IBEC, etc., 2 from legal backgrounds, 2 economists, and 1 token rep from the Irish Congress of Trade Unions. So the Pension Commission was a way of removing this from the political arena, because the parties who did the coalition deal together, namely Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil and the Green Party, felt the political pressure during the general election. I think that the attack on the right to a state pension at 66 should be seen as a larger attack on all workers. The right to a state pension at 65 was a big gain, won by the working class in the 1970s, and should be fought for to retain it by all workers today, because workers today will be retired workers tomorrow. And we reject that demographic time bomb argument. Yes, people live longer, and indeed that's something to be celebrated rather than be commiserated, and for another heap of austerity to be imposed on them in their retirement. Workers living longer doesn't mean that those who are now working are less productive. In fact, it may have taken 5 workers to pay the pension of 1 retired worker, and will in the future may take 2 or more to pay the pension of 1 retired worker. But the evidence clearly shows that workers are becoming increasingly more productive, and that is not being recognised in terms of their wages or indeed their pensions in the future. This problem can be addressed by increasing the rate of PRSI paid by employers. Ireland's employers have one of the lowest PRSI contributions in the EU, just over 10%, when you compare it to states like Austria at 21%, Germany at 45%, and the EU average comes out at 21%. So we're a laggard again, and we're behind. And the point of attacking pensions reflects a wider crisis in the capitalist system, and instead of celebrating the longevity of ordinary people, they want to see it as something that they can't afford to take any risks with. We need to ensure that the right to retire at 65 is retained, and that people can retire with dignity, with a livable income. And if that means addressing wider issues like the employer's attack on pensions in general, the low tax haven status that is this country, and increasing the PRSI contribution, then that is what should be done. Lastly, the auto-enrolment policy of the government is deeply flawed. It won't deal with the crisis they talk about, and will only add another tax to low-paid workers with no occupational pension. It can't, by its nature, affect workers whose PRSI contributions are so low that they won't qualify for other than a state contributory pension. The growth of precarious, low-paid work indicates how that will affect the current workforce when they are due to retire. And finally, just to say, part of that is the reason why next week People Before Profit will bring in the Industrial Relations Amendment Bill on the 30th of June, and that is to give retired workers a voice. And the retired workers I have spoken to, of whom there are tens of thousands, and I hope that we'll get widespread support for this bill across the Dáil, have a slogan, and that is retired workers are not retired voters. And their systemic attack on their pensions since the austerity measures brought in by your party minister along with Fianna Fáil when the banking crisis happened has been absolutely punitive on them, and it's part of the collective response of this system to retired workers, which is shameful.